Well, for decades now, science fiction has been alerting us to the wonders and perils of our biotech future, from the prospects of gene therapy to the pitfalls of biological warfare. And now that future looms before us, if it's not already upon us. But don't panic, according to the co-author of a new book, How to Defeat Your Own Clone, and other tips for surviving the biotech revolution. Kyle Karpinski, welcome to America's Morning News. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being with us. You know, humans, I guess, have been practicing genetic engineering for millennia, beginning with early agricultural practices. I will never forget about 10 years ago in upstate New York, where my father's ancestors settled after coming over from Ireland and Scotland. And we were out in the middle of a forest now, and he showed me a huge tree that it shot up about 100 feet into the sky, a huge trunk, and about every limb on this tree had different leaves on it. And he told me the story of how his grandfather used to take limbs from different trees and attach them with some kind of tape and sap he would put on there. And he was growing a tree. I'm telling you, I don't know how many different trees were in this one trunk. It was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. And I guess this was the beginning of cloning.
Well, yeah, it is. And, you know, it's an interesting point. I think most people don't realize that, but we even mentioned in the book, twig is sort of where cloning is derived from the original Latin. And basically it's the idea that you can take a cell from one organism and copy it and make a new, you know, sort of identical organism. Obviously, with the twigs and kind of grafting things on, it's not the same organism, but the idea is there. You can take a cell and you can make a new cell that's the same.
Yeah, now I want to point out you hold a Ph.D. in bioengineering, and to your credit, you're right now working for a biotech company out in the San Francisco Bay Area. You're developing new technologies for tissue regeneration, which is something that has made great strides of late. This book is a fun book. It's a humorous book. I mean, you talk about how the fact that your younger, stronger, healthier clone probably could defeat you in a stand-up fight. Say there were two John McCaslins out there. But after reading this book, I'm apparently going to be prepared to outsmart my clone. How is that?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's the trick. You got to make sure that you're the one who's going to outsmart him and not the other way around. So the book is the key there. And, yeah, I've been out in the Bay Area for a while. I got my Ph.D. over at UC Berkeley. Just wrapped up about a year and a half ago and have been working on technologies mostly for nervous tissue regeneration, so people that have injured nerves, that type of thing. And the book was really just sort of, you know, I'd always wanted to write something, and I really enjoy pop culture and that type of thing. But I've always been very analytical by nature. You know, it's not an accident that I sort of fell into science, and it really just sprung up as just this random idea. I said, you know, I see all these other sort of satirical how-to books, and some of them have some basis in reality, but a lot of them don't. So there's, you know, how to survive a zombie attack or how to survive a robot uprising, and they're really fun. And I thought, well, no one has really done anything about the biotech revolution, and it's this very real thing that people get scared about, and it would really be fun to teach people about that. But I have to do it in a fun way because I think that that's where people really learn and they really pay attention.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of religions out there that are very opposed to cloning, so I know you've had to take that into effect and kind of walk around this as if you're walking on shredded glass. But you say do not panic about the whole cloning future. How come?
Well, I think the biggest thing to do is just sort of step back and say, well, you know, what is my clone? And that's where a lot of people get confused. There's a lot of misconceptions about what a clone is and what that really means. And, you know, to simplify it, just because we only have so much time, if I had a clone, it would really just be a twin. Now, it may be a twin that's sort of at a different stage of life. One of the biggest misconceptions is that my clone is going to look exactly like me and sort of pop out of the womb at the exact same age. So if I'm 30 right now and I wanted to clone myself, boom, I've got a 30-year-old Kyle standing next to me. But with the technology that we have, that's not true. If you look back to probably the most famous clone, of course, is Dolly the sheep. When you see pictures of Dolly, Dolly is actually much, much younger than the original or the surrogate mother that she popped out of. So there's a lot of misconceptions there, and you sort of have to think, what exactly is a clone? And really, it's a twin. So if you start thinking, would it be so bad to have a genetically identical twin, it's not quite as scary as you might think.
Kyle,
you sort of have to rationalize it in your head.
I got to ask you this. How far is this going to go? What are we going to see? Let's stick to the cloning. What are we going to see in 20, 25 years that is going to be most amazing to us?
Well, the cloning, we're either going to see a human clone or we aren't. There's actually already, there's been cloning of many, many types of mammals. There's even companies out there that will clone your pet. So you had a pet that, passed away and you really wanted to have that pet back. Well, it won't be the same pet, but if you want to pay a whole lot of money for it, you can get a genetically identical pet. So in terms of cloning, that's the big question. There's a lot of people that speculate, we think there's already groups out there that can do it. I'm not convinced until someone actually comes out and shows that they've done it. There's a lot of technical issues to contend with that makes human cloning more difficult than other mammals. But personally, I think they'll get there eventually. Scientists are very clever, and they find ways around this thing. So it's sort of just a matter of time until somebody, probably, even though there's regulations against it, someone may do this. And I think 25 years down the road, it's possible. It may be 50, it may be 75, who knows? But I think it'll happen.
Well, we can even go back 50 or more with regard to the boys from Brazil and Hitler, the Hitler clone.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's going through all the sort of list of great pop culture movies. There's good ones and there's bad ones, but that one in particular is really interesting, and they show cloning in sort of a more rational light. It's, you don't have a bunch of identical Hitler clones running around. You have Hitler as a little boy, and he's being raised by different parents, and that's the whole nature versus nurture. Well, if I had a clone and all of a sudden he's 10 years old and I'm 40, or in this case, Hitler's long gone, what exactly is this clone going to be like? Is he going to be just like Hitler? Well, no, not necessarily. There may be some inherent genetic traits there, but at the same time, he's got different parents. He has different set of circumstances to live with, and he can develop in a totally different way. So that's part of the problem, is that people may have this misconception, and especially if it's a clone of a famous person.
Yeah.
A lot of people will think it's going to be exactly the same, but you're putting this on a human being that's a completely different human being, so you really have to make sure you don't have any preconceived notions about that person.
Hey, Kyle, quick last question. Are we going to ever have chocolate-flavored broccoli?
I think we will. I think we'll see a lot of things, a lot of very interesting bioenhancements, like extra strength, extra intelligence. I think it's going to happen, and we're living in really interesting times.
All right, Kyle Karpinski. The book is How to Defeat Your Own Clone and Other Tips for Surviving the Biotech Revolution. It's going to make you laugh out loud, but it's got the serious side to it. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Best of luck with this great book.
Thank you so much for having me.